You're 35 years old. Your net worth just crossed $2.3 billion. And this morning, you stood in a gas station bathroom in a wrinkled t-shirt, doing math in your head about whether the $9 breakfast burrito was worth it. Meanwhile, your college roommate, the one who still texts you memes at 2 a.m., just put a $4,000 outdoor kitchen on a credit card. And he has never once, in his entire life, hesitated over a burrito. Here's the part nobody tells you. The bigger the number gets, the less it actually feels like money. This isn't a story about getting rich. It's a story about what happens the moment you realize rich was never the finish line. It was just a different kind of cage with better lighting. I'm Josh, and on this channel, we take apart the money stuff nobody explains properly. The mechanics, the psychology, the stuff that actually changes how you build a life. If any of this lands, stick around. Because it's about to get a lot stranger than a burrito. Here's the thing you need to picture first, because it's going to carry us through the whole video. Imagine a deep-sea pressure suit, the kind they use to go down 500 meters into water that would crush a human ribcage like a soda can. That suit is the only reason you're alive down there. It regulates the pressure. It keeps the cold out. It lets you survive depths that would kill anyone without one. But put that suit on, and you can't feel a handshake anymore. You can't feel the water. You move slower. Everything you touch through 3 inches of rubber and steel. You're protected, completely, absurdly protected, and also, for the first time in your life, alone in a way you didn't sign up for. That's what $2.3 billion is. Not a jackpot, a pressure suit. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what it protects you from, what it costs you, and why almost nobody who's actually worn one will tell you the truth about it on camera. Let's start with the number itself. Because the number is lying to you. Concept 1. The zero that isn't real. Here's the mechanism. When people say net worth, they mean assets minus liabilities. And for almost every billionaire under 40, assets means equity. Stock. Shares in a company you started or co-founded, sitting in a spreadsheet, valued at whatever the last funding round or the public market said it was worth on a Tuesday. It is not cash. It has never been cash. It may never become cash. Here's the math. And it escalates fast. Say your company did a funding round that valued your 19% stake at $2.3 billion. That valuation is a snapshot. A mark, not a payout. If you tried to sell even 2% of your position in a single week, most private company bylaws and most public market liquidity rules would either block you outright or crater the price so badly you'd be lucky to net 60 cents on the dollar. Sell too fast, and the very act of selling tells the market something's wrong. And the number that looked like $2.3 billion starts sliding toward $1.6 billion, then $1.1 billion, in the time it takes to place the order. Now here's where it gets interesting. Your actual liquid cash, the stuff sitting in checking and savings, the stuff you could spend on a Tuesday without asking anyone's permission, is often a laughably small fraction of the total. Founders in this position frequently keep somewhere between $500,000 and $5 million genuinely liquid, even when the net worth headline reads in the billions. That's real. That's not a rounding error. That's the entire gap between what you're worth and what you can touch. Picture Frank. Frank's been your accountant for 11 years. He's got a mechanical pencil he's used since grad school and refuses to replace. And he's the only person who knows both numbers, the $2.3 billion on paper and the $340,000 in the checking account that actually pays your rent. Frank's the one who has to explain to you, calmly, over black coffee, why you can't just wire yourself $10 million to buy a house outright without triggering a cascade of tax events, board disclosures, and a stock sale that could spook your own investors. The reframe. You're not rich. You're rich-shaped. There's a difference. And the difference is liquidity. You open your banking app. You see the number. You don't feel what you expected to feel. Because the number in the app is the small one. And the number that matters to the outside world is trapped somewhere you can't reach without a 2-week approval process and a lawyer on the call. Concept 2. The pressure suit. This is where the metaphor earns its keep. The suit isn't just about liquidity. It's about the layer of professional armor that has to go on before you can safely do almost anything. Every major purchase, every investment, every public statement gets filtered through lawyers, wealth managers, PR consultants, tax strategists. Not because you're paranoid, because the suit is load-bearing. Take it off too early, and the pressure, lawsuits, tax exposure, opportunistic relatives, bad faith business partners will find a gap. Here's the math on why the suit is expensive to wear. A single family office, the private team of accountants, lawyers, and investment managers that ultra-high net worth individuals typically assemble once they cross roughly $250 million in assets, commonly runs somewhere between $2 million and $5 million a year just to operate. That's before a single dollar gets invested. That's the cost of the suit itself. The maintenance fee on staying protected. Contrast that with Danny, your friend from freshman year, the one with the outdoor kitchen. Danny makes $95,000 a year at a logistics company. Danny's entire financial infrastructure is a checking account, a Roth IRA he half understands, and a guy named Steve at the credit union. When Danny wants to buy something, he buys it. There's no suit. There's no pressure differential to manage. There's also no 500-meter depth waiting to crush him, because Danny was never going that deep in the first place. That's not even the crazy part. The crazy part is what the suit does to your instincts. You start reflexively distrusting generosity, because at your depth, people's motives get harder to read. Everyone from an old classmate to a stranger at a fundraiser might be angling for something, and you can't always tell who. Behavioral researchers who study sudden and extreme wealth have found a consistent pattern. As net worth crosses into rarefied territory, social trust measurably declines. Not because rich people become worse people, because the incentive structure around them changes completely. You become, statistically, more isolated the wealthier you get, even though you're objectively safer than you've ever been in your life. The reframe. Protection and isolation are the same suit. You don't get to order one without the other. Concept 3. The surface tax. Now let's talk about what it costs to look normal, because this is the part almost nobody puts a number on. The mechanism is simple. The moment people know what you're worth, every interaction changes. Job offers to family members start looking like requests. Every dinner bill becomes a small negotiation nobody says out loud. So a huge percentage of the ultra-wealthy, especially those who built their money quietly, through equity rather than headlines, choose something researchers call stealth wealth. Deliberately under-consuming relative to their actual net worth, specifically to keep the social pressure manageable. Here's the math, and it's the biggest number in this video. Say you could, hypothetically, spend at a rate that reflected your full net worth the way a normal person spends relative to their salary, roughly 60 to 70% of annual income, adjusted for a wealth base instead of a paycheck. At $2.3 billion, using even a conservative 4% safe annual draw as your notional income. That's about $92 million a year of theoretical spending power. You will spend nowhere close to that. Most people in your position land closer to 1 to 3% of their actual capacity. Not because they can't afford more. Because spending at that scale invites a level of scrutiny, resentment, and exposure that isn't worth what it buys. Picture the scene. You're standing in the driveway next to two vehicles. One is a leased 2019 Honda CR-V with 61,000 miles on it and a cracked phone mount on the dash. The other, 3 houses down, is a fully wrapped Range Rover that belongs to a regional real estate broker who nets maybe $280,000 a year. He waves at you every morning like he's better off. He's not wrong to feel that way, walking past your CR-V. And that's precisely the point. The surface tax isn't paid in dollars. It's paid in letting a guy who earns a fraction of what you're worth feel like the more successful man on the block. Because the alternative, driving what you could actually afford, costs you more in scrutiny than it buys you in comfort. The reframe. The richest person on the street is often the one who looks the least like it. Concept 4. The crushed depth. Every pressure suit has a limit, a depth past which no amount of engineering keeps you safe. And this is true psychologically too. The mechanism here is hedonic adaptation, one of the most well-documented findings in behavioral economics. Humans recalibrate their baseline happiness to whatever their current circumstances are, usually within about 12 to 18 months, regardless of whether those circumstances are dramatically better or dramatically worse than before. The house that felt like a miracle the day you bought it becomes, by month 14, just the house. The number that once made your hands shake becomes, eventually, just the number. Here's the escalation. Studies on lottery winners, the closest available proxy for sudden, extreme wealth, have found that within 2 to 3 years, self-reported life satisfaction for most winners returns to roughly where it was before the windfall. Not because the money vanished. Because the emotional system that was supposed to register, "This is amazing," simply stopped registering it. The crushed depth isn't a location. It's a date on the calendar, roughly 400 to 600 days out, after which the number stops doing emotional work, no matter how large it gets. Ray hit that point at year 2. Ray's a founder you'd recognize if I named him, so I won't. Mid-40s. Wears the same 3 flannel shirts on rotation. Sold a company for just under $500 million when he was 38. He told me, and this stuck with me, that the day the wire actually cleared felt smaller than the day, for years earlier, when he made his first hire. The first hire was uncertain, terrifying, and completely his. The wire was just a number a lawyer confirmed over email. The reframe. Money keeps compounding long after your ability to feel it stops. Here's the turn. And this is the part that doesn't resolve neatly, so I'm not going to pretend it does. The hardest thing about this depth isn't the math. It's Danny. Because eventually, Danny needs something. Not much, in your world. $22,000 to cover a medical bill his insurance didn't fully take. In Danny's world, that's a catastrophe. In yours, it's less than what your family office spends on printer paper and parking validation in a slow month. You could solve it in the time it takes to read this sentence. And you will hesitate. Not because of the money. The money means nothing at that scale. But because the moment you write that check, something in the friendship shifts permanently. You become the guy who can fix things. Every future conversation carries a shadow question neither of you will say out loud. Is this a friend or a safety net? Danny knows the number now, roughly. He saw a headline. He's never once asked you for anything before this, which is exactly why it's so hard to say no, and exactly why saying yes will quietly change what you are to each other from this point forward. There's no version of this that costs you nothing. The suit protects you from financial catastrophe. It does not protect you from this. So let's go back to the gas station. You're standing there again. Wrinkled t-shirt. Fluorescent light buzzing overhead. Doing math on a $9 burrito that your liquid cash could cover 11 million times over without you feeling a thing. And yet here you are, actually hesitating, because some habit from a version of you that didn't have a pressure suit yet still runs the show sometimes. Danny's outdoor kitchen is still sitting 3 states away on a credit card he'll be paying off for 2 years. Neither of you has what the other one has. He has liquidity without depth. You have depth without liquidity. Neither of those is the win condition everyone assumes it is. You buy the burrito. You get back in the Honda. And the thing nobody tells you at the beginning, the thing you only understand once you're actually wearing the suit, is that the number was never the goal. The goal, the whole time, was figuring out how much pressure you could survive before you stopped being able to feel anything at all. So here's the real question this video leaves you with. If the number stops making you feel anything after about 18 months, no matter how high it climbs, what, exactly, are you still chasing it for?